Now, one of the things that I love doing on Radio City is doing some live interviews, and we are live, and I've been joined by two guests, and very special guests at that. I'm not going to tell you too much about them before we actually speak, and I introduce you to them, but I'm going to play a piece of music, which is a classical piece of music written by Handel in 1705, and it's from the opera Rinaldo, which was the first opera that Handel wrote to be performed in England. And the aria I've chosen is Lascia, Chio, Pianga, which means let me weep. Now then, the reason I'm doing it is that there's a slightly different version of it going to be coming down the tracks just now. There we are. That was Handel with a difference. And I have to say, as a classical musician myself, I think you would have approved of that, with the development of music throughout the ages. And I've been talking to my guest prior to the interview here, and we're both all of the same mind, that music is a developmental process which started back in the dim and distant past with Palestrina madrigals and Gregorian chants, and that's why we've got music like that now. That was from the opera Rinaldo, composed by Handel in 1705, but with the 2021, yeah, or was it 22? 2022 slant on it. And it's ideal to start off this interview, because with me are Bex Hazard and Cat Llewellyn.
Hello.
Better known professionally as Zirenz. I've got to ask you first off, where does the name come from?
Well, we originally were going to call ourselves Sirens of the Sea, but we thought it looked a bit more catchy having the Zs.
Right.
And at the time, we're working very much heavily into the dance music industry.
Yes.
So graphically, it looked great, and also it sounded more edgy. So we went with Zirenz. Or Zirenz.
Got you.
In Italy, we get called Zirenz.
Because I have to say, I looked on the internet and I couldn't find any definition, and I thought,
It's made
what
up.
am I missing? What's wrong with Google? Anyway, that's so. Zirenz, interested in putting together a different slant on classical music, because people say, I don't like classical music. I remember my mother was a very good pianist saying, I don't like Mozart. Global things saying like that. You think, hang on a minute, Mozart was one of the most prolific, incredible musicians. But people are like that. And so I see the development of things like this, what you're doing with music like that, as bringing music to the, and I put this politely, uneducated.
I call it opera for the people.
Yes, indeed. And you've used the name opera, you beat me to it, because we're going to be talking in a little while about a concert that you're putting on in Llanelli, and we'll look at the details of that in a moment. First thing I want to ask you, how did this all start? When did it start? When did you get together, and how did you meet?
I'll let Catherine.
Oh, God. Some time ago now. We were both in London. As soon as I moved to London, I decided I wanted to find a vocal coach.
Right.
And I found Bex.
And I started teaching you her.
Yes. And I hate to say that I listened to some of her music and I said I can write better lyrics than that.
So, hence that's why we started working together. And we entered the John Lennon songwriting competition.
Yeah.
And in 2003, we won an honourable mention award. And funnily enough, it was one of the DJs we later got to know quite well, Paul Oakenfold.
Yes.
Who actually judged the competition. And so I thought, okay, we've won that. So there's something here in this writing collaboration. So we then went on to write more songs, and the rest is history, really. So that's how we began writing together. I was Catherine's vocal coach, and then we started writing. She was the lyricist, and I was the musician, writing the tunes. And
so you do the words, you do the music, or do you both?
It kind of crosses over.
Yeah.
Primarily that, but I was a computer programmer, so I did the electronic side of things and produced our early stuff.
Yeah. And then Catherine taught me everything that I know about computers.
Yes.
And software, the use of software and things.
And now she wouldn't let me in the studio.
We'll have to speak later, because I haven't got a clue. As long as it's got an on-off button, I can just about manage that.
Well, I broke a few of those on and off buttons.
So, obviously, you're influenced from the track that we played by classical music generally, but the influence of trance and all the rest, how did that come to be your mindset, if you like?
We've always used, through our trance music, we found...
it was the closest thing, wasn't it, to an orchestral kind of setup.
Trance seemed to fit very well with classical. And Catherine's got a classical background. She was in the youth choir of
Youth Choir of Wales,
and orchestra. So, and then my background, I was part of Cantarmus Girls' Choir for 8 years as a chorister, touring all over the world. We won St. John's Choir of the Year and Llangollen and lots of international choral festivals under the direction of Pamela Cook, MBE. So I had a really good choral background going into, and then I went to the Royal Academy of Music. And I studied for 7 years. I was there with a scholarship, and I was at college with the likes of Aled Jones and Alfie Bow and Aled Hall, who were prolific singers. And I was fortunate enough to have amazing coaching there, and all of that eclectic mix. Then we come into the dance music industry and found that our music sort of worked. That's all how it all really began, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And so that general influence sort of pointed you in all, because of it pointed you in all sorts of directions. I can imagine in the academy, every other room was going to be classical music being played.
It was kind of frowned upon, and I was I was alien in a way, because I used to sneak off to the recording studios and work on electronic music and things and contemporary music. But I knew I was there with a scholarship to study singing and classical music and opera. So I always had to sort of rein myself back a little bit. But it was Kenneth Bowen, actually, that gave me my scholarship, who was from Bury Port.
Yes, I know Kenneth.
And Kenneth was an amazing head of singing at the time when I was fortunately there. And he just gave me free rein to have composition lessons, conducting lessons, piano lessons, guitar lessons. He just was such an advocate for my early learning of music at the Royal Academy of Music that I can't thank him enough, and I know he's passed now. So
yes.
Anyway.
It's strange that similarly I had sort of frowned upon opinions on how I saw music, you know, and because when I'm talking to members of the service now, you know, I say, yeah, I like classical music, I also like pop music, rock music. It isn't a one shoe fits all type of thing, music. There are going to be times when you think, I can't do with that. But
we like tunes, don't we? I mean, Catherine, your favourite artist is Meatloaf, yeah?
One of.
So we've got, you know, but you like rock. So Catherine likes rock and music theatre. And then, I mean, I loved the electronic music, so Jean-Michel Jarre, Nick Kershaw, Peter Gabriel, you know, who else? Vangelis, oh gosh, Kraftwerk.
Yes.
All of those musicians are an influence on what we do.
Yeah.
And but we love the new pop music, you know, so the Swedish producers and things that come through, and also lots of DJs as well.
Yes.
The likes of Armin van Buuren, David Guetta, and all of those sort of people, you know, have an eclectic mix.
Yes.
You know, an effect
You've
on
just
our music.
used a word that I thought I'd coined, eclectic, because that's what music should be for everyone. Not everybody liking everything, but being influenced by so many different styles, whether it be from the Dark Ages or Vivaldi or Bach or whatever, right up through to the current day.
I do believe Mozart was, at the time he was writing music, was a modern composer of his time. And I do believe that if he was around today, he would be using computers, synthesizers, electronic music, the latest technology out. So why not? I mean, respectfully, look at the music side of things.
Yes.
Operas, always we have new directors coming in and doing new productions with the clothing's changed or the scenery's changed. Why not look at the music and try and modernise that in a respectful way?
Yes.
And try and bring a new audience to it. That's our ethics for the Popper project.
I think that music is an entertainment.
Yeah.
Whether it's you sitting in your car just listening to it, or sitting in a concert hall, or in the O2 when Eagles are there with thousands of people. That's what it's about. It's entertaining. And so anyone producing music of whatever type, to my mind, needs to be like yourself, prepared to look across the borders and, if possible, bring those borders closer together. You mentioned some successes, but you've had quite a lot of successes, haven't you, in terms of your performing and your writing. So come on, blow your own trumpet a bit.
It's always difficult to blow your own trumpet, I think, but our highlight is a track that we wrote back in 2006 that has gone on to become one of the trance industry's known best trance tunes, and that's Edge of Space, and that's been remixed numerous times, but the White Room remix is the one that stands out. And one thing that we had while we're in London writing and working, we always had that angle to pick a really good remixer, didn't we, Catherine? The ear to find the next new remix that was coming out. So that was one thing.
And also one that would complement what it was that we wanted to achieve.
So that was one thing. The other thing is the John Lennon songwriting thing. And then also going on to having another number one hit with the hymn, with Ajuna Beats. They're a prolific label that do a lot of stuff in America now, British trio. And also we've had signings to great publishers and things like that. A lot of it has been held up by Catherine's situation, which I'm sure we'll talk about later.
Yes, indeed.
But I think there's still a lot to come from Zirenz.
Did you find, as some musicians have found across the ages, that sometimes you went and knocked on that door and they never opened it for you?
Yeah, I think you've got to be determined.
Yes, definitely.
Because, I look at some of the examples across the eras where musicians have been downtrodden and really not come to the fore until after they passed. Yeah. Because so many musicians were not recognised until, actually, this guy was quite good, or this woman was quite good. It's a strange world.
I really hope we don't get there.
Listen, you're on Radio City. You've already been recognised. You've made it today. So, okay, we're here to talk about a concert. So, tell me a bit about it's pOpera.
pOpera by candlelight.
Yes, Zirenz by candlelight.
Well, it's in aid of Neuroendocrine Cancer UK, and that came about because of Catherine having neuroendocrine cancer twice, both in the stomach and in the liver, which I think we'll talk about a little bit more later. Yeah. But they heard Catherine and her music sing and came to our studio, and they thought, come on, we need to try and, support, and they thought, as an advocate, and also to get word out there, we collaborate together to put a concert on. Right. So they sponsored the actual theatre, the Furnace Theatre, and we came up with pOpera by candlelight, and we invited some friends to join us, and we have Cantarmus Girls Choir, the choir I was part of. They've all donated their services for free. The Meadows, who are a fantastic... Cantarmus Girls Choir is an international choir. The Meadows were a folk band. They've won numerous awards for folk music. And we've got the infamous rock choir from the whole of West Wales. They've got members from different pockets of West Wales performing. We've got 40 performers on stage, and then we won't say we've got... I think there's about 80 performers from rock choir. Then we've got Lisa Mayers, who's a composer from Wales, who's written a specific new premiere piece as well for the evening, and she's going to be performing with 3 soloists and also the Meadows. So we've got an array of eclectic mix of music, and on the second half we've got the pOpera project, which is 12 recreated, reimagined arias and sacred songs, all to candlelight and specially lit, and it's going to be dazzling, we hope.
I'm sure it will be. If I can turn to you in terms of your health issues, the impact of not just once but twice must have been unbelievable. How does someone like yourself get through that? Because I'm sure there are people listening who have similar issues, perhaps not endocrine cancer, but, cancer or there are so many issues these days where cancer, if caught early enough, can be treated, cured, stopped. And I'm sure they'd be interested to hear your throw on it, having had it twice in 2 different places. Yeah. But now you're sitting here talking to me about a concert you're going to be performing in early September.
It's a struggle.
Yeah.
After my first operation, I found that my breathing wasn't working as well as it should do. And for a singer, that's not very pleasant at all. Yeah. So I had to work on my voice at that point to actually my voice changed, didn't it? And the sound changed somewhat.
Well, yeah, because you've been operated on in the abdomen area, so it's affecting everything, the muscles, the diaphragm, the lungs, everything.
And even more so then on the second one, that's when all my muscles were messed about with.
Yes.
And so my control isn't as great as I would have liked it to have been. As far as the cancer itself, some people would say it's a slow-growing cancer. So, I had a surgeon say to me, "Well, if you're going to have a cancer, have that one."
And that's neuroendocrine cancer.
Yep.
And I don't think anyone really wants to hear that, because they just hear cancer.
Yes, indeed.
At that time. And I knew no one that had cancer, really, when I first was diagnosed.
Yeah, well, going back then, my recollection, trying to think about what was going on in the work that I was doing, which was related to, I didn't know of that cancer at all around that sort of date. So it must have... I understand you got treated in London for that initially?
Yeah, I was living in London at the time.
Very fortunate, I guess.
I think so, because there was very little on the actual type of cancer.
Yes.
And, a lot of times I'm going to say I'm really fortunate this happened, that happened. I'm not fortunate at all in the fact that I've had cancer.
Yes.
But I understand other people aren't as successful. The neuroendocrine, I was told... we don't know anyone that's had the cancer that you've got in the place that you've got it. So I had no one to relate to. There was nothing on websites.
Wow. Yeah.
And I remember coming back from hospital and I was on my own and I just cried. I just didn't know. I was looking on sites for information and I couldn't find anything. And when I got over it, and when I came to Wales and had it again, I started looking again for more information, because I felt so drained of just being told what's going on inside my body, and how I'm somebody that I need to know all the details to be able to relate and say, okay, fine, I can deal with that. But I had nothing, so I went to a group at Maggie's in Singleton Hospital.
Yep.
It's Nets Natters. This cancer used to be called neuroendocrine tumours. And because it had that tumour rather than cancer, people were going, oh, there's nothing wrong with you. Anyway, went to this group, and that's when I learnt a lot more about the cancer and how to live with it and how it's ongoing. It may pop up again. And it's just gave me confidence again, really, because I pretty much lost it at this point.
Oh, yeah. And I think anyone listening will understand that
but
as well.
Also at the Nets Natter meetings, they've got specialist nurses there from the Neuroendocrine Cancer UK Charity.
Right.
And what's invaluable that this charity actually do is provide literature for the patient, for the family members, for the friends to take. And then you can read about it at your own time. And I believe on the website they've got download leaflets about all different types.
Yes.
Because Catherine will say the same thing.
It's anywhere in the neurocrine system. So it could be in the head, the lungs, the heart.
Yes, it's one that can be anywhere, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's going
and
back
misdiagnosed as well.
Oh, I can imagine. Yeah, going back to my past life involved in the medical field, one of the things that we were always lauded for was the literature that we produced for people suffering with the illnesses that I was dealing with. That there was something that they could read, get quality information for, and there were specialist nurses all around the country. So we were very fortunate in that, but it must have been in the early days absolutely horrendous for yourself. If you like, was music a bit of a light at the end of the tunnel?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah?
If I hadn't have had... there were times when I said to Bex, just go off and do your own thing. Just Zirenz doesn't need to exist anymore.
Yeah.
And she didn't do that. She sort of stuck by my side and waited, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm a bit broken now with my knees, but
musicians can be stubborn. Yeah, but it's interesting you say that, because I was fortunate enough, I'm going to name drop now, to do a concert with Jose Carreras in Cardiff Castle, and 20,000 people in the audience. But it was not long after he'd come back from throat cancer.
Yes.
And it was interesting talking to him after, because he came in under carry with the band, and he paid for it, which was amazing. But we were talking to him, and he was saying, whilst he knew he was fortunate, they got it early, they sorted it, the light at the end of the tunnel for him was being able to sing again.
Yes.
And that really was a driving force in his recuperation. And I have to say, listening to the track that we heard initially, that was amazing. The both of you. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. And I'm sure people out there will think, ooh, that's a different slant on classical music. Perhaps I do like classical music after all.
But that's the aim of the game.
There we go. All right, then. This concert, you've got a huge array of excellent artists. Not least of all yourself, of course, and by candlelight. Is there any reason why it's going to be? Let them see you, you know. But anyway, the concert itself is in Furness Theatre in Lascia, which, if I'm not much mistaken, is the one that's not far from Asda. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Yeah, not the one in the centre of the town, which is Theatre Lascia.
No.
And you can get tickets. It's 9th of September. Doors open 6:30, 7 o'clock start. Tickets are available at £10, £15 and £20. And the box office number, I'm going to give you the number, but don't worry if you can't write it down, because we're going to put it on our website and on our Facebook page for you to have a look at. Box office number is 0345 226 3510, and their website is www, and I will spell it because it's a Welsh, written in Welsh, it's THEATR, so theatre in Welsh, AU at sirgar, sirgar.co.uk. Once again, don't worry about that. We'll put that up on our website and make it available for you to check. Or you can give us a ring. My number's on there. Give me a ring on my mobile and I'll be able to give you the details. Also, if you want to learn more about Zirenz as a singing group, www.zirenz.com, that's Zirenz. And in terms of what Cat was wonderfully vocal about, telling us about her illnesses and how she dealt with them and how things are moving forward, if you want to get to know more about that organisation, that's www.Neuroendocrine Cancer, all one word, .org.uk. Once again, we'll put those details on our website. Guys, it's been a privilege.
Thank you very much.
I really, really hope you packed the hall out to the gunnels.
Yeah, we've got lots of tickets to sell.
Yeah, but you know, it's once people get it,
it's all for a good cause.
Indeed.
All the monies are going to the Neuroendocrine Cancer UK Charity.
Yeah, wonderful, absolutely. So,
and
guys, if you're out there,
job.
I know there's football and rugby and what have you on during the day, but that finishes well before 6:30. If you're off to the rugby or football, why don't you take your wife to the concert in the night at 7 o'clock?
Can I just mention that we are going to be doing a new version of Calon Lan.
Oh,
at the very end of the concert, which you
excellent.
can all join in.
And what I'm going to ask you a favour now. Will you please, because we've got 4 of your tracks, can you send us any tracks that you do?
Yes.
We'll put them onto our playlist and make sure that we play them, and when they're played, that the link to the cancer charity is mentioned every time.
Oh, wonderful.
We'll do
That's
that.
great. Thank you.
I can't think of a better way to end this wonderful interview, and I thank you both for your time. And as I say, wish you well for the 9th. I'm sure it's going to be superb.
Thank you.
We're going to turn to another track released by Zirenz, and it's Un Bel Di, which is One Fine Day, and I've conducted this piece more times than I care to remember. It's from the Puccini-written opera Madame Butterfly, which, interestingly, has already been updated to Miss Saigon.
That's right.
So this is just a further interpretation on one fine day. My thanks to Cat and Bex for their time, for the information they've given us, and we wish them well for that opera concert, Zirenz by Candlelight, at the Furnace Theatre in Llanelli on the 9th of September.
We play your favourite music 24/7.
You're listening to Radio City 1386 AM.